I don't do these a lot because I have a day job, but I want all of you to really get to know me a little bit more today. I think understanding my business principles is one thing, but understanding how they were crafted and how I think about things is really more important for me than anything else. And so if you can take yourself back wherever you were to the summer of 1987, it was about 95 degrees. I was in Miami, Florida. I was running on a major highway on the sidewalk. I had a garbage bag on, and I was absolutely in probably the lowest point of my life. I wasn't very old. I was just out of the 8th grade. I weighed 200 pounds, and I really found myself in a place that I think has contributed to who I am today. I was depressed. I didn't have any friends. I was overweight. I was bullied. I was an only child. And I'll tell you, it's not something that I love to think back about. It usually brings tears to my eyes because it reminds me of what used to be. But the reason I tell this story is that in order to grow as a business person or as an individual, you need to understand where you came from, who you are, where you're going, and why all things happened. And so I'm a big believer in what I call the reinvention. Over and over and over again, and still I struggle with it today, I find myself dissatisfied with who I am, dissatisfied with what I've accomplished, dissatisfied with the way I look, dissatisfied for a lot of reasons. Now, I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me because I feel like I've made good progress. But in that moment in 1987, I ended up passing out on the side of the road. I laid on the sidewalk, dripping in sweat, and ended up checking myself into the hospital, obviously with my parents. And I started and realized that I was suffering from an eating disorder, very significant eating disorder. And all of it was because I felt like I needed to be accepted by people. I needed to be loved by my peers, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get a date and why nobody ever picked me to be on the dodgeball team. And I knew in that moment that I had to do something different. Well, at 13 years old or however old I was, you start to do irrational things. You take things into your own hands. And you start to project on what you think people think you're supposed to look like. Fast forward, I go through high school. I went to an all-boys Catholic high school. I got a little bit better. I got a little bit thinner, still very awkward, struggled a lot. Fast forward a little bit more, and I decided that it was time to go to college. And I said, remind you, I lived in Miami. I'm going to go as far away as I possibly can to a place that nobody knows me. And so I decided to go to Marquette University in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And when I told my mother that I was going to go to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, she kind of just scratched her head and she said, we're from Miami. Like, we don't go to Milwaukee. And the reason I went there is because I thought I could be the thin, tan guy, the only guy that ever went to Marquette from Miami, and that I would be able to start over. Nobody would know I was a dork. Nobody would know I was a nerd. Nobody would ever know I was fat. Nobody knew I didn't have any friends. It was literally, I got to reinvent myself. It was like new packaging. The problem is that the guts of the contents were still the same. Yes, my hair was shorter. Yes, I was tan. Yes, I was thinner. But I was still the exact same person. Socially awkward, very uncomfortable in my own skin. And as I struggled through that process, I started to realize what I wasn't good at, and I started to get more comfortable in what I was good at. When I was young, my mother used to tell me that I had two qualities. Well, one quality. One was that I was really good at math, really good with numbers. The second thing, she didn't call it a quality back then. She thinks it's a quality today, but she said I had a very big mouth. And her theory was anytime you can mix a big mouth and a knowledge of numbers, you're either going to be the greatest politician or a really rich guy, one of the two. Well, my mother told me that, and in my mind, she told me that because she was my mother, right? I mean, your mother's supposed to tell you how wonderful you are. It didn't help me. Went to college, struggled, got B's and C's, ran for office 3 times, lost 3 times. I ended up losing, but I met a guy by the name of Wayne Huizinga. and he was down in South Florida. He had a company called Republic Industries at the time, and Republic Industries was a waste management type company. And so I met him at a fundraiser with Bob Graham, and he said to me, here's my card. I know who your grandfather is. I have no idea who the hell you are. But Bob Graham says you're a good guy. I know you're going to lose. He was very polite about it. If you decide that you want to have a job, give me a call. And I lost, and I couldn't go back to my family's business. I wasn't about to grovel. I went and worked for Wayne Huizinga at AutoNation. I was one of the original people there, and it was maybe one of the greatest experiences of my life because I learned how to be an entrepreneur. But the next phase of my learning curve really went into full throttle. My family, I think I told you, owned 2 car dealerships, and Wayne Huizinga was now getting in the business of buying car dealerships. Wayne Huizinga and his management team said to me, would you like to be promoted? Absolutely. Great, we've been trying to buy your family's dealership. And if you want to be promoted, I have a great opportunity for you. You can get promoted, but you need to figure out how to get us to buy that dealership. I said, they don't talk to me. Like, I'm an outcast. Well, you'll figure it out. So a year goes by, and the long and short of it is I was able to get the deal done. We don't have enough time for me to tell you how my mother helped. I was able to get the deal done. I walked back into the office in Fort Lauderdale. I said, I think the deal's done. Great, you're still looking for that promotion? Yes. Well, you have one last job to do. Everybody that works at the dealership that's your family, that doesn't actually work, you have to fire them. I was like, oh, come on. I was like, I did what you asked me to do. He says, if you're going to work for me, and you're going to go out and buy businesses, or you're going to get involved in businesses, you have to understand the importance of family dynamics in business. And if the family member works, great. If they don't work, they got to go. So again, you guys will tell this, my mother's my mentor. I called my mother and I said, Mom, I got a problem. This is what they're asking me to do. And she said, well, how do you feel about it? I said, I feel I'm struggling. I'm struggling because Dad works there. She said, yeah, but let me be clear. Your father works, so don't even, that's off limits. And she said to me, I'm going to tell you this, and this is something you'll take with you for the rest of your life. If you're going to be successful in business, you have to go in with blinders on. And you have to make good business decisions. And you have to be empathetic, and you have to be sympathetic, and you have to be a good listener. But it really boils down to business. Now, I'm sorry to tell you that you will not be at this year's Thanksgiving dinner. But you got to do what you got to do. And I'm proud of you, and you just got to do it. So I went back to the dealership, and aunts, uncles, cousins, nephews, friends, relatives lost cars, lost their housekeeping services, lost their jobs. I don't feel bad for them. They were all doing just fine. I don't talk to any of them today. I've heard from them recently since they saw the TV show. Everybody wants to rekindle the relationship. But the point of my story is that I had to find this fork in the road and make a tough decision, and make a really tough decision.